Lulzbot is back, but not from outer space. Midwest Rep Fest, and they're showing off the Sidekick. Let's learn about it. On March 26th, 2021, Lulzbot, well, they teased us. Let's watch it. Made in America. We now know this to be the Taz Sidekick, but this is what they gave us in March, and have basically told us nothing. By the way, guys, print quality, come on. I love the Wade's extruder knobs. That's something that I love even to this day. The print quality is garbage, but the Wade's extruder knobs they're just cool. They're cool looking. Expected as low as $750. That's a pretty good price. That would be a Prusa killer. You heard it here. Prusa killer. If they could produce a 3D printer at $750 and make it like a Taz 6 size. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you they did not do that. They did not do that. They didn't do that. 6 3/8 by 6 3/8 by 7 1/8 and 9 by 9 by 9 3/4, which I'm guessing is 250 by 250 by probably 275. Somewhere around that range. And well, this one is not available yet. The 747 is not available yet. I don't know what this 289 and 747 naming scheme is. It doesn't, for some reason, show me anything about the sizing of the printer. This one is clearly not a plane. So the naming scheme makes no damn sense to me. But I will say, I like that you can, move this thing around. And let's take a look, because $795 to start. Let's see what $795 gets us, since this is basically the price of a Prusa MK3S Plus. But they did say, what, $750? As low as $750. Well, rip. As low as $795, we should say. So let's select it. Let's take a look at our colors. We've got the Stealth Black and we've got the Lulzbot Green. Now, some people will say this looks like Ryobi's Green. Honestly, absolutely love it. Every single day of the week, I wish my Taz looked like that too. And problems. So for $795, you don't get a hot end. You don't get a hot end for $795. And the printer is 6 3/8 by 6 3/8 by 7 1/8. A Prusa MK3S is 9 by 8 by 8 inches. So this is smaller. Doesn't come with an extruder tool head, I guess I should say. Now, it does have auto bed leveling, which you would think that they tell you these things, but unfortunately, there's really nothing about the Sidekick. It tells you very little about the machine itself, which is unfortunate because I would have really liked to see this, right? We've got the coming soon video, and this is all the information they tell you. Thankfully, and I'm going to give a shout out to Greg's Maker Corner. And I was subscribed to you, but I'm going to subscribe to you one more time, because you only have 428 subscribers, and you are the first person to do an actual video on the 289. You got it from them at Merc. So, Greg, if you're watching this, thanks, dude. It is because of you that we are able to make this video, because clearly Lulzbot doesn't want to put anything out there. So they're saying a 3D printer for $750. Well, that's wrong. They're saying a 3D printer for less than $800. Well, that is also wrong unless you already have a Lulzbot tool head. Now, recently, they did decrease the price of their tool heads. This used to be above $200, which would have made this printer over $1,000. So I believe the goal here was to get you under $1,000. But unfortunately, this is not where it stops. And you see that we've got hot ends starting as low as $195. But, let's say you want a Hermera, which I believe these ones here are Hermeras. You're paying $325, maybe even $345 or $335. That's a lot of money, right? That's almost a Prusa Mini worth of money for a hothead. Now, do not get me wrong here. Lulzbot is fully open source, and I can prove this. You guys saw this in the last video. This is a head for our Taz 6. This is not a head that Lulzbot ever made. This is a modified variant that came out from one of their distributors at the time. It works 3D. This is a 1.75mm Titan Aero on a printer that takes 3mm filament. Now, of course, that does require us to flash it every time. You can see back here, I've got my steps per millimeter written on the back of it so my idiot brain doesn't forget. And of course, it is rocking the glorious knock to a hamburger fan, held on with zip ties. Anyways, it works great. But the only reason we were able to do this is because it's open source, and we had to make some small modifications. Lulzbot printers natively run 285mm, so 2.85mm, but recently they have added some 1.75mm heads, and if it wasn't for the fact they were open source, this would be impossible, and it really did help us out when we were running our Taz heavily. So wanted to point that out, that this is totally a thing. So we're gonna select no tool head, right? Let's assume that we already have one. Okay, let's see how cheap of a printer that we can build. They use this universal tool head mounting system that comes standard on every printer, so all single extruder tool heads work on the Taz Sidekick and can be changed with 3 simple thumb screws. I am told you can also change out the heads without any firmware flashing, which is a big deal. We will be covering Lulzbot Kira soon, but I have some bad news for you. It's not going to go anywhere. I cannot, on the 3 computers that I own, get Lulzbot Kira to actually flash my Taz 6. It fails every single time. It not only fails, but the program crashes, and I will show you guys that in a video so you can see it happening. But some people have success, some of us don't, and I've tried it on 3 separate computers. I don't know what's going on. That is kind of what it is for me. So let's look at the build surface. The build surface, it comes stock with is glass and PEI, but for $30 extra, you can get the Octograb spring steel PEI sheet. Now, I will say, as far as upgrades go, that is pretty cheap. But I will also say, as far as upgrades go, why is this not stock? That's right, it's because you were trying to stay under $800. Prusa can do it. Like, Prusa can actually do it really well on a bigger printer. And the magnets are on the underside of the build plate, so they don't interact with other stuff. Yeah. For $30, if you don't do that, I think I'd be pretty upset. I think that's a pretty easy upgrade, so actually, we're going to go ahead and select it. LCD controller. It comes stock without one, so that means you are forced to drive the printer directly via USB tether. And for $125 extra, you can get the LCD screen, which is a $15 LCD screen. Lulzbot, I understand that you guys need to make money here. I understand that you want people to have the ability to choose, but personally, I would have rather seen a printer with all of these features at whatever top price it could be, and then I can just cut it down to whatever size I want, right? Or whatever price that I want, if I'm trying to hit a certain price point, rather than forcing me to, raise the price. Now, again, it comes with a BL Touch, so it's got automatic bed leveling. And it was one of my major gripes from the Taz 6 is that it only did 4-point using the nozzle as a touch probe auto bed leveling. So that's a big deal, but it's still a BL Touch. And BL Touches are not bad, but they're not great. There are better systems out there, like the Pyro Piezo bed leveling system, and we actually interviewed Alan of Pyroball PCBs in our podcast right here, and he's actually one of our team members. He likes to call himself the Circuiteer, which I think is pretty awesome. I think that's pretty cool. So, all right, I don't want to pay $125 for this, so I'll select 0. Filament runout sensor is $20 extra. The Mark 3S comes with one, like, built right in. The Mini does not, but the Mini is a $400 3D printer, and it's a $20 add-on. My Taz 6 does not have a runout sensor, and it is one of my gripes about the Taz 6, and there are ways to add it in. You can reflash the RAM mode, add it in, but it's not a factory available option, which is a bit of a pain in the butt. So yeah, for 20 bucks, I think I'd buy it. Accessories. We've got 3D Gloop. 3D Gloop is a really cool chemical. Let me know if you guys want me to actually review it in the comments below. It's something that we've worked with in the past, but not their newest stuff. We do know the chemical that they use. We had an analysis done on it, so we know how it's made, and it is kind of cool. Now, initially, I was like poo-pooing the warranty. Like in my notes, we have poo-pooed the warranty. I don't really know if I want to poo-poo the warranty too much, and here's why. This printer is clearly not designed for me. It is clearly not designed for most makers. It is clearly not designed for people that are just starting. This is designed for education. This is a 100% education push, straight freaking up. Now, I would say, you know, okay, if the printer's got decent qualities, it can print really well, then we're good. There are some things about this printer that are a little how you doing. Let's talk about them. And again, this is all thanks to Greg's Maker Corner. Again, please make sure you go subscribe to him. We'll card to his channel right here. Go make sure you check him out. Go check out this video that he did. It's a more in-depth look at this machine. And there's some stuff. There's some stuff.
Here is the Lulzbot Sidekick 289 taken out of the box. You can see there's some packing materials and some clips that hold everything in, including the hot end here. This is in the folded position. You can also see that the heated bed is stowed away like this.
Wait a minute, this is an $800 3D printer, and really, like, when you properly spec it, okay, so let's, like, properly spec one just real quick. Let's just grab, like, the cheapest hot end that we can, the flex plate, the display controller, and the filament runout sensor. It's really like a $1,200 3D printer. And it's using V-wheels? What is this? Creality? What? Like, hold the friggin' phone here. We talked about V-wheels in the Ender 7 video. We'll card to it right here. And how I don't like V-wheels. And how they're really not that good and not that much cheaper than going to an actual linear rail. Now, Lulzbot has a history of not using linear rails. They used iGoose Drylin dry bearings, which were really just bushings, and on the TAS 6, and it resulted in a lot of slop and play. So when you were doing a big, tall print and you moved it fast, you could actually see the bed shaking because of the slop that you need for Drylin to function. V-wheels do remove that slop, but they wear over time. And yes, technically so does a ball bearing, unless you keep it properly lubricated and clean and do all the things you should do. There is no way to stop a V-wheel from actually degrading over time and during use. This is basically planned obsolescence as far as I'm concerned. I let this go on $200 Ender 3s because you kind of have to cut corners somewhere when you're making a printer for 200 bucks. But when you're making a printer for $1,200, clearly, because Prusas do it, you can afford to use ball bearings, okay? Even the Prusa Mini, which my girlfriend and I did an unboxing of, we'll card to it right here, where we raced to actually assemble it, uses ball bearings. LM8UU ball bearings. So why, yes, technically the V-wheels are on ball bearings, but they're only supported on one side, which means they're cantilever, which is going to cause problems, it always does, and the Delrin themselves going to have issues over time. Why did Lulzbot do this? The only reason that I can think is money. And they didn't even do it the way most people do it. Normally, a V-wheel is shaped like this, where the wheel rides on V-slot. They got the wheels that are shaped like this. So it's like an M, okay? And that means it can ride on the edge of a profile. And that's exactly what they're doing. If you look, all of their profiles are tilted at 45 degrees. Now, I think that's perfectly cool. It does make it a little bit difficult to like connect all of the pieces together without using printed parts, but it is cool. Unfortunately, it doesn't get better from here.
This. So I really like how it folds up and is nice and compact. The view from the other side, while it's still folded.
I mentioned it earlier. I really like these Greg's weight extruder knobs for tightening all of the belts. By the way, there are a lot of belts because unlike most regular 3D printers that use a ball screw or a lead screw for the Z-axis, Lulzbot has decided to use belts and then magnets to keep the hot end and X carriage from slamming down into your build plate. Again, it's a cost-saving thing. There's no other reason to do this other than cost-saving, because what happens is if your belts for your Z-axis are not basically dead on the same, it doesn't work. And you're going to have a Z-axis that is slightly tilted the whole dang time. And yes, the BL Touch should be able to work this out, but that's ridiculous. You should not have to deal with this.
So in order to get this set up, I'm simply going to remove the hot end, the bed, and then basically connect it all together.
So Greg is currently working on removing all of the pieces that hold the belts together. There's a reason for this. They have locks on all the belts so the axes don't move during shipping. Now, while that's really cool, you shouldn't have this issue. Now, maybe on the Y-axis, but definitely not on the Z, because belted Zs are ridiculous.
And this is below the bed here.
And there you go. The dreaded V-wheels. Now, looking at it, they may not be the M that I thought they were. No, it is. It's definitely the M. You can see the angle there. Yeah, these are the M-style V-wheels that I talked about earlier. It's a shame. It is a shame. And unlike the Prusa Mini, so I will give it a kind of a check mark here. The power supply is built in. You can see it right down there at the bottom. But when you're trying to... You would compare it to like a Mini or an Ender 3 if you're going to compare it based on size, right? Although an Ender 3 is bigger. And you would compare it to a Mark 3S if you're going to compare it on price. And I just don't know where this printer fits, right? It's got clear corner cutting, although those are hilarious. The fact that even the thumb wheels are Greg's Wade extruder style knobs. I like that little kind of nod back to Greg and the Wade's extruder. I think that's cool. But the cool features on this printer, it doesn't inspire confidence in me, because I know what their plan is. Their plan is to go after, like, education. Because if it's anything else, I don't think they're going to have a good time. And education, I think, is going to eat this thing up. Lulzbot has taken a lot of time to make sure that they are approved vendors at basically every county school across the United States. And at $1,000, there are very few schools that are not just going to jump on this. And a lot of them already have Lulzbot 3D printers, so it might be a very, very easy thing for them to do. It's why I believe they're offering it without a hot end. And that is for people that already have a Lulzbot printer.
Next up, I'm just gonna open the screen here.
There's your $125 screen, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, the SD card is on the inside, because that's where it is for these smart controllers. It is on what would be the left side of the thing, and it works great on like a Taz 6, where the left side of the printer is where all your electronics are on the left side of the printer, right? So that makes perfect sense. But on something like this, you're like kind of reaching into the printer, and we can see once again, V-wheel, V-wheel, V-wheels, V-wheels, V-wheels. Why so many V-wheels? It's like an Ender 3, but just really expensive. And I mean, it'll probably print better than an Ender 3, but it's hard not to make that comparison here, guys. Lulzbot, I like you. I think you've got a lot of potential. But this just doesn't work. I mean, clearly it's not for my market, right? It's not for me. But it really does upset me that I feel like you've nickel and dimed the entire process to make an $800 printer actually cost almost $1,200. I don't like that. It makes me very upset.
Here's a few close-ups of the parts. You can kind of see the quality.
You expect the part quality to be kind of iffy on farm parts. This is standard. I don't care about that. Two belts, V-wheels, all in plastic, of course, so that's just not long.
So kind of more on the corner. Not something that I've seen
Look at that,
before.
just in plastic.
And here's the belted Z. 2 belts that control that.
2 motors, 2 belts.
And there are magnets at the top.
Magnets. How do they work? Let me know down in the comments.
That secure it.
The magnets keep it from
And
falling
there's 3
when you
screws
power
here
off
that are
the
gonna
printer.
be used to attach the hot end. So I'm going to go ahead and get these in. So you're going to use these shorter
I do
screws.
like the new
Well,
system
sleeve goes
for
in the back.
putting the hot ends on. Something that I didn't like about the Taz 6 is that it only used one little screw, then it just sat in a cup. That cup wasn't all that accurate, and the part could shift back and forth. We actually ended up putting sticky tack in ours, so when it stuck in, it basically didn't move. But having 3 screws is so much nicer, so I'm glad Lulzbot made that change. This is good. This is good.
These connections are going to terminate in this case, which is the INC retro board.
The machine uses an INC retro board. Let's see what they cost. The boards are $120 brand new, but they take advantage of the Trinamic drivers that can do sensorless homing on the axes, which is pretty cool. I will give Lulzbot credit. That was a frustration for me on the Taz 6 that it uses physical end stop switches, but when the Taz 6 came out, sensorless homing was not as popular as it is today. So this is nice. We are seeing some movement toward becoming standardized, if you will, and I like that. But again, at $1,200, tell me you're rebranding the Mini without actually telling me you're rebranding the Mini. You call it the Sidekick. So yeah, coming soon, expected as low as $750, but really being about $1,165. Victoria is here. Maybe she'll come up this way, but it looks like she's gonna go play in some boxes. But I can tell you, she was not enthused the entire time that we were talking about this. Were you? Oh, look, see? You're here. Were you enthused? And let's see. It's unfortunate. I think that there is a lot missing here. And if they're going to replace the Mini with this, I feel like this is a bit of a downgrade for really an upgrade in price. And I don't know. It's like they said, all right, let's build the cheapest printer we can physically build, but let's also charge the same price everybody is used to. I understand that for $20, a filament runout sensor is not a bad upgrade, in that for $30, the flex bed is dirt cheap. I just feel like this is a lot of the same and not a lot of innovation. And, well, that just sounds like an Ender 3, but with extra steps. Can I recommend this printer? No. I cannot. I want to. I really want to. I wanted to like this printer a lot, but unfortunately, I can't. And we see that this one is $9.95. I would say if you're looking at the two and you don't mind spending an extra $200, there is no reason not to get the big one. At least in my mind, I can't see why you would go with the small one over the big one to save $200. Because if you were going to save $200, you would just go get an Ender 3 or even a Prusa Mini. So I was bummed. I think I'm legitimately bummed. This did not live up to the hype and expectations that I was hoping for. It seems like they are trying to bring their price points down, and I can appreciate that. I just don't like the way that they're cutting these corners. I like their open source. I've said it in all of our videos about the slicers, which we'll card to here, that I love open source. I think it is really what drives this industry forward. I just don't see how Lulzbot is really innovating anything, and I really don't even think they're innovating on the price. I think at $1,000, the 747, you know, plus all the accessories, is going to end up being a considerably better value than the 289. I would highly recommend, if you're looking at a Sidekick, to get the 747. But let me know your thoughts. What do you think of this? I think there are many ways that Lulzbot could fix this, but clearly it's not what they're going for. They are trying to hit a price point on this, and while I can appreciate it from a business standpoint, it's just not my cup of tea. Is it yours? Let me know down in the comments below. I will see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to call your loved ones, and as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one. V-Wheels! No! Hey, thanks for watching this video. Again, let me know what you think about the Lulzbot Sidekick down in the comments below. Patreon is coming really soon, like as soon as next week. So make sure you guys get subscribed so you don't miss that, where your name could be over here. Right below me is a video all about 3D printing. So go check it out to get yourself a little bit of extra knowledge. I will see you all down in the comments. Take care.